There's a land just off the Atlantic, land of jungles, waterfalls, and sweet scenery, where poor people farm the lands and hunt the waters, and all live in peace and harmony. This is Guyana, beautiful Guyana. This is Guyana, beautiful Guyana. Diamond seekers go in the interior, pulling their creoles under the falls, singing sweet calypso as they heave on their way to dig up the diamond and the gold. Great kite shore tumbling to the river, how I love to see your foaming tide. I listen to the chirps of the cheerful kiskadee as they throw the yellow breast to the sky. Oh, Guyana, land where I was born. Oh, sweet land, shining in the sun. I could hear the monkey chatter up in a tree, and the parrots singing this melody. Oh, Guyana, beautiful Guyana. Oh, Guyana, independent and free. Oh, Guyana, beautiful Guyana.
As the young people would say, oh, yeah, yeah. Good evening, and welcome to Politics 101 on on uh, on a Wednesday evening. Politics 101 on a Wednesday evening. Like to welcome everyone down to the program. Please share the link and let everyone know that we're on live. We're expecting Dr. Henry Jeffrey to join us for us to continue our conversation on what's happening in Guyana. The voice there of Hilton Hemudin, oh Guyana, beautiful Guyana, the land where I was born. The sentiments of our countrymen and women as we reach in these times for our deep inner self as we confront yet another assault on our dignity, because that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. Dr. Henry Jeffrey is going to be here in a minute or so. He's backstage. and ready to go. I'd just like to welcome all of you. Welcome all of you down to Politics 101. As I was saying, Hilton Emmeline, um, Bobishan, New Amsterdam. I had the pleasure of spending some years with him because he lived in Buxton. His father, Canon David Hemedian, was at the St. Augustine Church in Buxton, Anglican Church. He was the priest in charge there from 1963 up until 1980 when he died. He, of course, was a Bobishan, West Bobishan, Litchfield man. And so I, in a sense, grew up under Canon Emmeline. I was an altar boy at St. Augustine Church. In fact, I always remember the 2nd of December, 1967, when I was confirmed. I was an altar boy before I conformed the 2nd of December, 1967. Canon Emmeline had quite an impact on us young people who were in the Anglican Church at the time. And I stayed an altar boy, I think, for the next 12 years or 13 years until I guess politics drew me away. Marxism, they say. Later on, I found out that they were priests who were Marxists. I didn't know, felt at the time, and I moved away from the church in that sense. But Hilton Emmeline spent those years in Buxton, and he was the first, as they say in those days, the MC was the head altar boy. When I joined, I became an altar boy, I think I was about 6 years old or 7 or thereabout. And Hilton was first MC. So I know Hilton well. And he was always playing around with songs and guitars and so on and so on. Quite a wonderful person. I ran into him a couple of years ago in New York, where he still plies his trade. Welcome to Politics 101. Please share the link and let everyone know that Politics 101 is on. Quite a lot is happening. Tomorrow, that meeting between President Ali and President Maduro in St. Vincent, it's hitting the headlines. As you know, last night, Professor Thomas was on, and he was quite scathing in his reaction to that meeting. On Monday night, I gave a long commentary. I felt we feel that it's not such a good idea. It is not such a good idea for the president to go there. As I said, I'm not objecting to meeting. Everything should be on the table. But my position is that what is it Guyana is going there to talk about, if not the border issue? And what do we want out of the border issue? Is very simply for Venezuela to withdraw its claim to our territory. And I don't think Maduro is going to that meeting to do that. I hear our president say he's going there not to discuss the border issue. What the hell are you going there for then? But anyhow, Jeffrey will weigh in on that. He knows more about these things than I do, as he was part of the practicing of statecraft in a way that I have not been. Welcome to Politics 101. Welcome to Politics 101. Please share the link. Please share the link. Please share the link. Politics 101 is on with Henry Jeffrey. We are also going to be talking about that 6.5% I pass. That's 6%, 6.5% that's offered to the public. Well, not offered, it's given. It's not offered. Given. And, you know, I have spent my entire political life, which is quite a long time, always hearing that, you know, we can't pay the public servants. We can't pay, you know. One got used to that argument that there was no money. I don't think this government can say the same, that there is no money. And I was very blunt. I was very blunt in my comments over the last couple of days. If I were this government, at this time, I would be giving the public servants most, if not all, of what they're asking for. Because I want their sons and their fathers to go on that front line and to, I don't want to say fight for Guyana, because, you know, if the Venezuelans decide to march across, there's not going to be much of a fight, but at least to go there and to confront the Venezuelans. And I'm asking their sons and their husbands and their fathers to go. I'd be giving those public servants what they want. But the ideology of domination does not even allow this government to pragmatically see what they ought to be doing. We are where we are. We are where we are. We are where we are. Good evening. Good evening to all of you who are joining us from the Essequibo Coast, Essequibo Islands. Those of you in Region 7, Region 9, Region 8, good evening to you. Good evening to all of you. Those of you who join us from Linden. Linden is not very far away from the action. Not very far away from the action. Good evening to you wonderful people of Linden. Whether you're on the Wisma side, Mackenzie side, you're on the highway, welcome to Politics 101. And brothers and sisters in the quarantine in Berbice, welcome to Politics 101. We, of course, this week are saying goodbye. Goodbye to Joe Solomon, legendary cricketer, who died this past week. And those of you who are cricket fanatics, as I'm sure you are, would remember Joe Solomon and the tight test in 1960-61. And it wasn't a fluke. I interviewed Conrad Hunt a few years ago in Barbados, and he said when they were in the nets, Solomon would be practicing, trying to hit that one stump from square leg. So it wasn't a fluke. Joe Solomon, part of that a group of cricketers that came out of Berbice. Solomon, Kanhai, Butcher, Madri, who was not as known as the other three. They were said to have been discovered by Clyde Walcott, who was working with Booker Sugar Estate at the time. And some people are questioning whether Walcott was the person who discovered them or whether it was Robert Christiani who told Walcott about that talent there. But Joe Solomon, dead, and Clyde Butts, wonderful, wonderful guy, my Coney man, dead on the roads or roadways, you know, carnage on the roadways. Clyde Butts, who should have played a lot more for the West Indies had it not been in the 1980s and 1990s when we were beating the world with pace. And whenever we needed a spinner, we would go with Roger Harper. I think Roger played about, oh Lord, not 25, about 25 test matches, if so many. So Butts was only able to play 6 or 7, but he took a ton of wickets for Guyana. We say goodbye to our great cricketers. And those of you who are into cricket, well, you know, the West Indies won last night by 6 wickets, that T20 match. I'm not a big T20 man. I don't think that it's too much cricket there. But what are you going to do? I mean, that's where the action is. And having won the one-day series 2-1, we've gone one up in the T20 match. We'll see what happens. Quite a lot of controversy there surrounding our cricket. When has our cricket not been controversial? When has it not been controversial? Welcome to Politics 101. I see my sister Novella Noble is on. Good evening, sister. Hardworking, patriotic sister down there in Georgia. How about the wonderful people there in Georgia, in especially in the Atlanta area? And I had the pleasure of spending some time there with them earlier this year, and look forward to um, going back there at some point. They have a wonderful group there and doing a lot of good work for Guyana. And I saw Novella and others at the conference on Guyana a couple of months ago. Good evening to all of you. Maryland, the people in Maryland, Washington, D.C. area, welcome to you. That's my, if there is a part of America that I call my home, it's Washington, D.C., Maryland area. That's where my people are, my siblings. My mother is still alive, is there. And I spent a good 12, 13 years there when I first came to America. Good evening to you and lots of friends I still have there. Good evening. How about you people in Canada? Very loyal viewers out there in Canada. I met up during the Thanksgiving period with my friend Brian Moses, and he was visiting his relatives in Maryland, and we caught up. And of course, we spent on Thanksgiving night about 3-4 hours just talking politics. Good evening to all of you wonderful people. Not just Brian, but it seems as though the women, the ladies are more into this politics thing than even the men. Good evening to Brian's wife, Miss King, and all the others. Good evening to you, my friend Colin Burke, who is a loyal listener and viewer. Good evening to you. And good morning. Good morning to you in the United Kingdom. It's morning. And I said, I don't know how you all do it, because when you all are done with me, you go to Mr. Duncan, Sherrod, and then to Mark. When do you have time to sleep in England? And those of you in France, good evening. Good evening. As you can see on the screen, I put up my little band at the bottom. As you know, it's the end of the year, and Politics 101 do our little fund drive, asking you to make a generous donation to keep our program alive. We come to you twice per year at Emancipation Time and at the end of the year. So it's that time. And, the band is there at the bottom of the screen. Welcome all of you. Welcome all of you to Politics 101. And I think we are about ready. Everyone seems settled. June Gilbert, good evening. Good evening to all of you. Deborah Leach, Diane Yearwood, good evening to all of you. Those of you who are joining us from New Jersey, I notice some of you are in the house. Welcome to Politics 101. Let's bring in Dr. Henry Jeffrey, because I'm sure he has quite a lot to say. Dr. Jeffrey, good evening.
David, thank you very much, and thank you very much to your viewers for having us in their abode.
Yes, and are you a big cricket man? I know you.
No, I am. I played a little squash. I'm not like you. It's not a. No.
You're not a fanatic like me, but you're into living with cricket.
Yeah. Well, yes. I mean, which guy isn't a bit taken back up with cricket? But no, I'm not a big fan of.
You played squash?
I played a bit of squash. Yes, that's about it.
Yeah. When they the multilateral schools came in. It was my last year of high school, and squash was one of the games that they introduced. And
Okay.
here we were in Buxton, playing squash. We consider it to be a tongue sport. But you a countryman, how you end up playing squash?
No. Well, I wasn't a countryman when I came back.
When you came back.
Yeah. So I started, and Courtney used to say, you are playing squash when people want squash to eat. But
who Courtney? Mark?
Mark.
Oh, yeah. You all were colleagues at UG.
Yeah. But no,
I remember when you
very active kind of a game.
Mark and Tashira
Yeah.
came back and you in political science department. I was just leaving UG at that time to come abroad. Dr. Jeffrey, quite a lot has happened since we spoke 3 weeks ago. The Venezuelans held a referendum, and as referenda go, that was that. And then the government issued some decrees. And everyone, by then the rest of the world, had begun to take notice that Venezuela was not just playing around. Now, the referendum apparently was not a success in terms of turnout. The opposition and other independent observers said that the turnout was low. But then the government issued the decrees. Were you taken by surprise by that?
By the decrees?
Yes, the issuing of the decrees.
Venezuela went this route before. Remember, at one time they were going to give passport to Caribbeans and all of that. So they've done this route before. But my position is that Maduro went to the referendum. Those who voted gave him 90%. I mean, some people are saying it's 10, but nobody's getting past 20% of the people that actually voted. But then nobody really actually, on the other hand, nobody actually says that most of the Venezuelans don't believe that Guyana belongs to them. I mean, the fact that you haven't gone and voted does not mean that you don't feel that way. Indeed, in democratic theory, we see democracy as settling down and doing well when there is not a excess of voting. There's not a lot of voting. So, for instance, Guyana, you got 90-something turnout. If you go to England, you get 40-something, because this is a stable democracy. So all of that taken into consideration. But you see, I kind of hold a different kind of view. I don't. What does Maduro want? If Maduro goes, come and invade or do anything like Guyana, he will drive his people further into poverty. He will alienate the entire world, and the refugees will be all over the place. I think Maduro can't be that foolish. Not to recognize it would not help his position. And therefore, from my standpoint, what Maduro has been doing is try to do what lots of politicians, particularly in democratic countries, that the votes are fluid, that you got all sorts of people voting all over. He's trying to win back popular support because it has fallen off on him badly. Popular support, the lady who just won this mock primary or whatever they had, has demonstrated that his vote has fallen off. Maduro now got to win some support, and what the Venezuelans, he thought, well, maybe they still do, would love best that for him to talk up and show a strong man position in terms of Guyana. Now, if that was his position, which I believe it was, I wouldn't find it strange that he's got to follow up. You just can't do that And then people, and you got to follow up with some other things. How far your follow-up will go is another business. Saying all of that, once somebody is claiming your border and making those sort of noises, you have to be on total alert. You have to be totally prepared. I heard you say just now that, well, there's no point fighting Venezuela. But I don't believe that. If you remember Burnham 19, what was it? 64 speech. No, 64. Yeah, speech or something, when he made it quite clear that, we will fight, but we will, and you can cross the border, but we will fight and we will not die as hogs. I think that's how he ended his speech to Parliament. And the PNC, well, the GDF, not the GDF, the PNC, it's two different things. The GDF then was rated. I can remember reading that GDF is rated as one of the best forces in Latin America and the Caribbean. So, I mean, GDF was rated. GDF not rated now. But the point is not you can't confront Venezuelan army and expect to beat them. Not at all. Hamas can't confront the Israeli army, expect to beat them. They're fighting guerrilla warfare. You'll have to fight, or rural, that kind of warfare. You got the guerrilla warfare in there. And I don't think if you got 500 good men or 1,000 good men, but committed men, committed that actually believe in Ghana. That's why the PP is missing. I believe that Norton, and he sit down and say this and this. Oh yes, we are with you. That I mean, the people with you understand what it is like to go through and go and fight in a guerrilla warfare. And you gotta be committed in your soul. Got to be committed to that. It is not simply a matter of, oh, Norton and we have reached, and now the opposition are together. You are sending people to put their lives in jeopardy and in a precarious situation that they are likely to lose. You are almost sending them to die. And if you want to hold off the Venezuelans, they can't settle down in there if you got 1,000 good men. That was always born in position. You can't settle down in there. You can't live in there quietly. If we got 1,000 good men, you got problem. Now, I think that is still a fact. It's going to be a long war, all sort of thing is going to happen. All your friends, I see the Australian opposition leader cursing out Maduro already, saying he's abandoned the country, is a failed state and all sort of things. But so you have to be prepared for that. And I believe that Maduro can't be that thing. He wasn't an army man like Chavez, but certainly he can't. He got advisors. Everybody got advisors. So in my view, he wanted something. He got to get out of this. He got to do what he did. He got to follow up. And as I said, politicians in democratic country, Clinton, I think I said it in my little article this week, Clinton, that his advisor says, man, your popularity is going down. You need to win back. And he said, bomb in Kosovo there and so on, the Serbs and so on, bomb them because you will look strong. JFK increased Kennedy increased the budget and bring in missiles and all that time because they told him, you gotta look strong. He wasn't going to war, but he's spending all the. Even Margaret Thatcher says, the Falkland War saved her skin. She looks strong, and all of that. So he knows that, and so he went out there and do that. He had to follow up a little bit, but he got to get out of it.
He has to get out of it.
And I think that I said that he won. He won already. If that is what he wants, because he's getting out of it by going to talks.
And we're going to get to the talk, but you raised some very important issues that I want to follow up with. And that is the issue of men and probably women on the front lines fighting Venezuela. That has raised a whole set of issues. It's raised issues of army preparedness, whether our armed forces, our army, whether the government has invested in modern equipment for the army. It has raised the ethnic question because the army is predominantly one ethnic group. You have a government of another ethnic group, and we have been hearing rumblings from some ranks, their families, raising the question about whether they should go and fight and die for Guyana. We have talked on this program. You have been very, very, very strong on the challenges of the kind of society that we are, the bifurcated ethnic society that we are, and the challenges for governance. And now here we are with the possibility of having to fight Venezuela. As you say, Venezuela crosses the border. We have to have a fighting force. And the question of who are the ones who are going to be fighting is raised within the context of ethnicity. Comment on that?
And it's well, I don't have to comment on that. God, that's just what I just said, because essentially that is it. When I say people are it, and let me explain to you what I believe. And
yes.
When one set of people are not committed, the other set of people are not as committed as they could be, So if you got a whole black people saying, why should we go, and I'm hearing it too. I'm hearing it,
Yes.
And this, the PVP, and all of that. But my thing is, don't think the other set of people sit down there and say, because you are actually, if you send a man into guerrilla warfare, which is all you can do down there, you got to hold Venezuela till your friends come or who could come and help you or the UN meet or some sort of thing. And you cannot expect people to, it's almost a death story you send people to, and they're going to ask themselves clearly, what am I doing here? What am I? Am I that committed to? All of us know the Venezuela story is nonsense, that it brought up. And even this, as I said with Chavez, is he just playing there to win back popular supporters, a strong man who is going for what the people believe in and all that. But you got to be prepared, because pushed to the limits, he might be forced to do something. And that's why I said, by just meeting, he has a win, because he's already telling his people, oh, I brought them to the table. You see, the court was not enough, and that. But I believe you got to talk. I believe at the end of the day, wars end two ways. It's either you are totally destroyed or you discourse things.
So are you in favor? Do you think that Ali was correct in accepting the invitation to go to the meeting?
Let me say what I'm going to say, and then you'll see if I'm saying the same thing.
All right.
I am saying that if I was invited to a meeting like this, with my position, Ali might think of things coming over the border and all that. My position is bluffing. So effectively, I would have said, okay, he wants to talk. Let's have a back channel. I want to know what we're going to talk about. What are the scope of all of this? I would have called Norton and I would have said, here, me and you don't agree, but listen what's happening. Get one of your chaps, get one of your, because all this is in confidence. Nothing is made public.
Yes.
Big and brother. And we got a back channel here. I'm get one of my people who know Venezuela. He can go and find people. He's got, what with the name Jeff thing that was there as ambassador. We got all sort of people. We got Ronald.
You get Ronald, you get Courtney. Yeah. You get the military
Cheryl Miles.
And all those people. Yeah.
Right. So you can say, look, let's go and chat out and let's get something of an agenda of what's going on here, discuss the possibilities, and let's see if we can meet on anything, because and what we are going to meet. Let's deal with the scope and everything. Man, and Kissinger became as good as he is because he's the master of back channels. You just don't wake up and say, I'm going to, my friend call me, I'm going to a meeting to do something with all this confusion. No, and now quarrel about what would be spoken about.
Yeah. No, Jeffrey, I'm with you. I'm with you on that. I am totally with you on that. But I think
you are talking about what you will speak about when you decide you'll go. I mean, this shouldn't be a discourse. Your men, you know, when you, if that are the chord, when you go in there to shake hand and kiss and say, all right, we agree. And there's only one thing they can agree on, that we will live together in peace and tranquility after the court makes a decision, whatsoever that decision is. And as a brother, I'm here to discuss with you how we can go far from then. But before that, there's no discussion about anything else. I think we should meet. Venezuela is not going anywhere. Guyana ain't going anywhere. So we got to work and live and think together. And we can live together. This little piddly isle we find, that can't be your motive. 11 billion barrels when you had 308 billion barrels. I mean, this is nonsense. So effectively, we can work together. We are close. We can cross borders. You got a nice country. We have one. That sort of thing. But all of that comes as to the end of the court discourse, and that is it. When the court make a decision, we will give a framework to move forward. I think that's enough to satisfy a lot of his people, if you want to stay within the rule of law.
Dr. Henry Jeffrey here tonight on Politics 101 on a Wednesday night. We're doing it. Welcome to all of you who have taken the time to be with us tonight. Good evening to you all. Desiree Simmons, my sister. I haven't said hello to you in a long time. Good evening to you. Good evening to you, Edward David. And of course, Mr. Gordon, you are always with us. Welcome to Politics 101. Henry Jeffrey's here tonight. And of course, whenever Jeffrey's here, you get, it's going. What do young people say? Yeah. we doing it. Well, you all know it's that time of the year. It's that time of the year. It's the end of the year. Politics 101 fund drive. The digits are on the screen. I can't do it like Sherrod, but the digits are on the screen. Please contribute. Please contribute generously. Welcome to you, Karen, Black Karen, Susie Wong. The Susies and the Wongs always go together. My brother Perry Mason, good evening to you. Edward David, good evening to you. Dr. Jeffrey, I know we're going back and forth on this thing, but I got to take you back to this issue. We got some sauce that start coming in over the last 3 years and so on. This government is not invested in hardware for the army, in beefing up the army. The government can't not know that Venezuela would have done something, and so we would have to prepare. It didn't come out with a military strategy. One get the sense that that was not big on the agenda. Anyhow, here we are, and we are facing this existential threat that you yourself have said, that even when the ICJ rules in our favor, and we expect them to, that this matter is not going away. And so the issue of a well-oiled army comes to the fore. But we have some deep systemic and sociological questions to face. The army is of a particular ethnic group. The government in power socialized its people over a period of time to see the army not just as a state, as an arm of the state which all citizens have misgivings about, but to see the army as an ethnic enemy. And so the question of whether this government is going to invest in beefing up the army, putting more weapons in their hands, etc., must be something that the PPP will have to consider. Have we reached the point where we have to say, well, ethnicity or no ethnicity, we've got to arm the army, and we may have to consider Burnham's People's Militia again? What says thou?
Well, what I say is that no government going to accept anything you say there for the obvious reason.
Yes.
So you say, because if they have not put enough, and if they are not prepared to put enough, we're doomed. Because even if the Venezuelan does not come across, the threat remains there. And nobody would know what they can possibly do in that context. So if as I said, if you go to government, they're going to say they put enough and all that. What my position is that you have to try to get back the GDF to the standards it was under Forbes Burnham. Now this, as I told you, GDF, I read it. If I know it, I would have gone to. I read GDF was classified as one of the top. You got to get back there. Now the PPP and their mode of doing things would think that is a threat to them.
Yes.
Obviously, they think the police is a threat. They think the public service is a threat to everybody, because you are giving all these black people a whole lot of guns and sophisticated training all over again. That is why the system we have is unworkable. At every single stage you go, it's unworkable. It can't even bring together what we're going to call army that would stamp on every enemy for you. You can't be certain that there's they know that they can't be certain. Somebody just go away and gone and so on. So effectively, we have that problem. It's not, if they are not doing enough for the army and they got money now, so you can't, if they are not doing enough, if they are not paying them enough whatsoever, they better start doing it. Because, well, what else can you say about the situation you have just explained?
Jeffrey, you have not been shy about talking about your experience while you were there in government. I noticed some people who don't think through these things are asking what you did for black people when you were in government. And your response to that is classic. But I want to ask you, you know these chaps. Do you think that we have reached the point that Venezuela has pushed us to the point where those chaps are going to bite, quote unquote, bite the bullet and say, we've got to beat off this army. We are taking an ethnic risk, but a political risk, but we got to do it. Do you think they have it within them ideologically to go in that direction? And I'm not talking ideology in terms of communism and socialism and so on, but in terms of the way they think philosophically.
But David, you surprised me. You just said they had the opportunity to demonstrate to people that they are going somewhere along. You give them they give you 6.5% increase. That looked like a change of any policy, anything, and they got some people writing nonsense over the 2 years. Over the 2 years, the amount you have is 30%. Well, suppose last year you give me 29%, and you only gotta give me one this year. They manufacture all these things that come up with these numbers. So effectively, let me act, so I am saying to you that it is quite clear that that does not happen. And David, it's not going to happen in our country because the PPP is dead set upon ruling Guyana alone, regardless of the situation. And it's not going to happen. It's not going to go down well. So effectively, that's where we are. No, I, I don't think they'll put the resources necessary into the army to do to be a really appropriate force for the conditions that, and then again, even though they try, you gotta get people, the mindset is not, man, we don't give $10, say come and build some road for me, and when he gone, he still got to rum shop and say, yo, what bandit you are. So no, you gotta get commitment, serious commitment for this kind of thing. And
Jeffrey,
no,
Jeffrey, when I was in graduate school and I was writing my master's thesis and my PhD dissertation, your book with Barber
yes,
was one that I had to read.
yeah.
It was on my reading list, and my advisor Hilborn Watson, Barbadian, political, it was on his reading list. So I had to read you when I was in graduate school. That's 40 years ago. All right?
Yeah.
Jeffrey, you mean our country has not shifted in terms of a recognition of our problems that we brought with us into independence, given our history? And we've had 60 years of independence. Have we not shifted in terms of the political elites grappling with this problem and moving in some progressive direction? Is that what you're telling us
Let
tonight?
me ask you,
Yes.
has Israel shifted?
No.
It's the same kind of something. Has Israel shifted? I mean, who has shifted in these kinds of a country? Somebody always got to shift them. Was Northern Ireland that shifted? Not until Clinton go down there and Biden, Clinton, Biden, and others go down there and say this got to end, and bring them together. Fiji shifted. The only thing shifted in Fiji is that all the Indians had to migrate. Yeah, what has shifted? These countries are not easy to manage. Once the PPP done what they have done, let me go back. I'm not saying that Jagan or Janet was racist, but I'm saying all they had to keep their people together was racism, because it's easy, it was there. Burnham, so they demonized Burnham, and by definition, the PNC. So the people actually believe that black people are a threat. That was the whole thing. Now socialism gone, but the racism remains. Socialism, and they are still pumping it up. Look at Monrepo's market. Come on, I got 3,000. If them 3,000 soldiers at arm, you couldn't stop a dozen PNC people from rifling your supporters and the market. What can they do? They allow that to happen. You know that when people are coming down from Golden York with that kind of thing, you're always going to have people between them that are going to start trouble. You got 3,000 soldiers or whatsoever and police, and you make that happen. Well, what going to happen now that Venezuela comes? Because you are totally incompetent. You are totally incompetent. You can't have them make to your supporters. But why? Next week, they go down there and share out money to people and say this, we are giving you this and that. That's why. To bolster this notion that black people are criminals and all sort of things. What happened during the 2015 election? Not the same. After the thing looked dodgy and the polls, what happened? The vice president wasn't charged, have to be charged, about kicking down the door, reminding people of these things.
Yes.
Why would you ask me if anything changed? Really?
Good evening to all of you, Keith Bears, for all of you that are on. And as I usually say, when those of us who got the opportunity to study these issues and to look at how they play out in other parts of the world, when we make these analyses that Dr. Jeffrey is making here tonight, is not to say to you to be hopeless, not to say to you that I mean, nothing can happen, throw your hands in the air, but it's really to point out to you all the enormity of the problem, because sometimes as citizens, we tend to find the simple answers to difficult problems. And it's one of the things that we have had to deal with in Guyana. One people, one nation, one destiny is an aspiration. We made it into a truism. The other side is talking about one Guyana. We are making it into a truism. You read the papers, people saying we are all one against Venezuela. And we haven't seen one forum where Norton and Ali stood together and speak to the guy. Yet we're one. We're one. No. As I said this morning, in an imperfect, and I am the first one to admit it, because it's something that one has to really think through and explain, that we are a country without a nation. And that may be harsh, but we have to, even as we think about ourselves as a Guyanese people, we have to bear that in mind, that it's fragile. It's fragile. And we're not saying that we should stop working, but we are saying this is the reality. This is the reality, and this is what we're dealing with. Dr. Jeffrey, again, you were there with those guys. The issue of Indian people joining the army, it has come up from time to time. And when Jagan came back to power in 1992, I understand there was an initiative to get Indian people to join the army. It wasn't successful. And let me ask you this. Why Indian people are reluctant to join the army, one. And secondly, is this generation of PPP leaders, do they really want Indian people to join the army, or are they more concerned with these phantom groups rather than beefing up the army?
Well, they might. That's a hard question to answer, because in the sense that I think they tried,
yes,
to get Indian people to join both the army and the police. Nowadays, remember, recently they're talking about having regional police and that sort of thing. That got its own problems, in the sense that you are letting the police more or less staying at home in his community, and that got a host of problems. But, I think that, yes, they actually tried. But if that ain't working, it has not worked, and they believe now that there is a threat, you got to find other ways. The Ali phantom this and phantom that is just a result of that kind of activity and belief and that sort of thing. It will never end. It will never end until both parties feels that they have equitably part in both the work and results that emanate from Guyana. And both parties don't think so. And the trouble is with that is that if the PPP comes and says that the Indians are not getting sufficient, there is nobody in the African camp can tell them to get in. It's not true. And vice versa.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So what you gotta do then? What you gotta do? You got to rule this country together. There's no way out of it. And the Americans know it. Everybody knows it. They went to another island. They went through that same situation as I just pointed out to you. You can't, the PNC can't rule this country alone. No, the PPP can't rule it alone, because you have over 40% of the people of this country don't trust, on both sides, don't trust the other side.
Dr. Henry Jeffrey here on a Wednesday night. We are discussing all things political. We are talking about the Venezuela threat and how that has really touched other aspects of our political reality, our political culture, our political architecture, and generally the sociology of our country, ethnicity, class, and so forth. Jeffrey, 6.5% to the public servants. You were once a minister of education, and you had to deal with wages and salary at a time when there wasn't much money. As you said, Jagan once said, open up the book. And if they get the money there, give them, you know. This government has money. And as I said at the beginning of the program, you want soldiers to stand up, whether Venezuela come over the border or not. You want the army to be ready. You want to have a force of men and women who are ready to at least put up a front for us. And in the public servants, their mother and their sister and their daughter and them, you gain them 6.5%. What's going on in the head of the PPP?
First of all, David, you're right. The government got money. The question, and it bears on the question you ask if there is any change in the outlook. Take, for instance, take these numbers, or those content numbers that they got on the people writing up a lot of things about government revenue and all of that. Central government expenditure in 2020, under the Green administration, right, was 28.4%. It says here, this is IMF numbers I'm giving. Now, Henry Jeffrey, not the government of Guyana. Nobody wants to believe anything the government of Guyana, so I went to IMF. And this is their latest report, 2023 report, staff report, right? So this is their last report they did in December. Current, well, that came down to 24% government expenditure, came down to 24.2% in 2021, 19% in 2022, and gone back to 24% in 2023, 24.6%. So what you got there is barely a 4% movement, right? Please note, it's only a 4% movement. Current government expenditure, that is overall government expenditure, on current government expenditure, however, moved from 21.7%, 17% in 17.7% in 21, and 11.1% in 22. And guess what it was? Recurrent, now you know what recurrent is? Wages and salary and all that thing. And guess from 21% in 2020 what it is in 2023? 10.8%.
Wow.
Yes, that's what wages. It moves from 21% on the afternoon to 10.8% in this year. That is what he's spending on current government expenditure. But here's the kick. Here's the kick. Wages and salary, which was 6.3% in the afternoon time, moved to 4.9% in 2021, 2.9% in 2022, and 3.1% now. It was 6.7. The wages moved from 6.7 wages and salary from 6.3% to 3.1. It's half the amount of money they're spending on wages and salary today. But look at this. Now this is All right, we'll talk about that just now. But look at the capital expenditure now.
Mm-hmm.
Capital expenditure, which was 6.7% in 2020, became 6.5% in 2021, become 8.5% in 2022, and today it's 13.4%.
God. And we know
that doubled. That doubled.
That double. That double.
That
And we
doubled. And the people that are working for you, they think, God, no. Now, if you ask me if people change and change, they're just trying to use numbers, it's damn lie and statistics and they say. But that is what has occurred, and it's happening because they don't have trade unions in Guyana.
Mm-hmm.
The very thing, no, they call themselves on the register, but there are no trade unions. If you can't strike, because that is the ultimate weapon of a trade union. You don't want to go burn donkey in field and all that sort of a thing and get. But that's when normally you are forced into. But where's this trade union? Because any trade union is not use you and I sit there and say that this is terrible, terrible, terrible. Anywhere, any country, indeed, if you go to the literature right now, you will see that one of the major reasons for the inequality in the world is being the diminution of trade unionism. In America, Canada, everywhere, the trade unions are not there, therefore the employers take what they want and do what they want. And that is essential. You don't have to, if you must have a trade union, you must be able to strike. But how can you strike? How are you going to strike? How would the teachers strike? Half of their people, well, nearly all of the people are working for the government. The government went so far as to diss even the opposition parties that are talking to them so much as you. They are going to diss you. They don't have to speak to you. And effectively, that was it. And why should the people want to come on the road when the government can just do what they want, can discriminate against them, they can lose their job? You can't just go and tell them we're going to march. That is another reason, an important reason why this country got to be managed by both parties. There's no way that you can tell them people to go and march. It's a divided country. You ain't going to get a lot of Indian people going out there march against the PPP, as you certainly would have had a lot going out to march against black people going out to march against the PNC too. But that's not the point. The point is, when you have that disassociation that makes internal organization useless, they're there. The Constitution has all the rights of what you must do and what you can't do and all that. But because of the nature of the Constitution, the government can do anything it feels, and the workers just got to sit there and take it. What else you gonna do? What else? Well, as I said, PPP tried now and then, they burn up some sugar cane, do this, do that, discourage people from planting rice. But you are in an autocratic country. In a sense, what Maduro is doing there is a result of the fluidity of voting in thing, because votes change in large numbers.
Yes.
So he's trying to win. But Ghana, that don't happen. That's why they say Maduro is an elected autocracy. But Guyana is an elected democracy minus all the political virtues. So that's what we have. And you got to live. I don't know how you can do anything about this. Oh, if you argue like that, you know what they're going to, the PPP got the answers to that, and I must say it. They're going to say, well, maybe we are giving public service nothing and all of that and all of that. But when they knock off 7,000, what we do with the 7,000 sugar workers, what we do, well, you're going to have to answer the day. But the point is, that is the reality of Guyana. You can say it was good, They gonna say it was bad. You gonna say it's good. Bad now, they say it was good. They got people writing up a whole lot of nonsense or something. So effectively, that's where you are, my friend.
Jeffrey, I said this morning, I was on some program this morning, and I said that as much as the PPP government not sitting down with the unions, the public service unions, the teachers unions, etc. If the government were to give teachers and public servants $250,000 cash grant, I don't think the unions would complain too much that you want to sit down with me to give them 250,000. No, I mean, in a serious way, the government deals with Kawu differently and probably Nasi, and it goes back to the real nitty-gritty of our problem. One party government in Guyana really is a failure. It's a failure. It's a failure. Dr. Henry, Jeffrey, it's going to be quite a working Christmas because we're under the gun, so to speak, as we go into Christmas, because nothing much is expected to come out of that meeting that Dr. Gonzalez has organized. And, you come up as an integration person. How far have we come that now Guyana cannot naturally expect CARICOM to stand with us in a conflict with Venezuela, in which we are in the right. And CARICOM is in between. Yeah.
But David, CARICOM is in between largely because CARICOM got other interests around.
Yes.
And I was telling you that the Australian leader of the opposition, I have the thing that was cussing up the CARICOM, saying, what kind of people are these? They go, Guyana is right. Okay. One asked themselves if you would have been making that same statement with such bad life was China doing a Maduro on him. You see? But you got to get real with politics. I mean, you got to get real. All of these people got certain interest in that. And within the context of that interest, they have maintained their support for you. Well, if Maduro do anything crazy, that's supported with her. It will wither. Because they're going to have nowhere further to run. You see, you can gaff what's going on all over the place. But if you only make some across the border, the support wither. It will wither. What in 2015? Anyway, leave that alone for tonight. Yeah. Okay.
Dr. Henry Jeffrey, as usual, always lots of food for thought, really going straight at the heart of the matter. My brother, thank you again for coming through. And I know we have one more show before the end of the year. And as usual, it's our Guyana. Lots are going to be happening. So I'm sure you'll have more than a mouthful the next time we talk.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, audience, for staying with us.
Thank you, Dr. Henry Jeffrey. He has a column in the Village Voice, Future Notes. You can check it out there in the Village Voice. And I want to thank you all for staying with us. Please, it's time for you all to make your donation to Politics 101. The Cash App handle is on the screen. You see it there, the $, BUXT. Of course, those of you who are PayPal, it's there. And we do, what is that other thing that you all do? Zelle, you can use that email address there. That's on the screen for the Zelle. Please make your donation because it keeps our program going, keeps our program on air. Of course, we are indebted to you by your very presence every night. How you all do it, I don't know, but I know that you all do it, and we are grateful, very grateful. But we are asking you to take that one little step in this festive season Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Yvonne McPherson. Thank you, gentlemen. I love Guyanese. You know, we have a turn. You know, we take the English language. You know, when we say gentlemen, you know, we really put an added meaning to it. You know, Mr. Gentleman, you the Mr. Man. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, ladies. Adrian Sanders, good night. Jennifer Douglas, Rashley Ford, all of you, good night. Please make your donation to keep Politics 101 afloat. See you all tomorrow night, because we're going to be kicking it. I can't remember who's going to be here tomorrow night, but we're going to be kicking it tomorrow night, because tomorrow that meeting is occurring. And so we're going to be talking about the meeting tomorrow night. So please be here. And again, thank you all so much for staying with us. And as usual, I love you all eternally, because you is me and I is you all.